allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Pat, if you call the roll.
Here. Mama here. Supervisor Barrett.
Here, entertain a motion to approve town board meeting minutes of July 15th.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Walloway. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen. Councilman Sandor.
Yes.
I didn't pay attention. Councilman Romano.
Yes.
Councilman Walloway. Supervisor Barrett.
Yes. Communications and announcements. I just want to thank all the town personnel that have worked long hours over the last couple of weeks with the storm debris. The Highway Department, Buildings and Grounds, everybody else that's taken the calls and pitched in. It's an important service that we like to offer homeowners, landowners when storms hit. If a storm hits your neighborhood, as it did in Clifton Knolls twice in a week, there's a lot of limbs on your property, a lot of brush, and it's very difficult for most people to have the resources to see that can be disposed of quickly and effectively. And with the service that the town offers, we're able to help homeowners get through what can be a difficult time and get rid of those limbs and brush for them. So I know it's a big task. It's a daunting task, but they've done a good job. We're still cleaning up. I mean, there's over the years you can trace it. At least a couple of times a year. Just in this case, it happened in rapid fire, but at least a couple of times a year we'll get a storm from the west, and it comes up, goes through Clifton Knolls, and right into the common. And that's where a bulk of the tree debris occurred. I felt terrible after the second storm. I visited with some residents. One gentleman had a tree that fell right, almost split his house right down the middle. Didn't go through the framing, but did put a large hole in his roof. Felt terrible for him. The neighbor next door had at least a dozen trees that were down in their backyard and front yard that needed to be cleaned up, which is a very large bill. Down power lines, people didn't have power for up to 24 hours in some cases, and it's a very difficult time for folks when they're out of power and when they're facing this type of mess in their yard. Or, worst case scenario, they have to leave their home. And that can obviously disrupt your life very quickly. So a couple of storms that only lasted a matter of minutes have created over 2 weeks of cleanup, and it continues. So I do want to thank everybody that's been working hard to get that done. Also want to congratulate the Not So Common players. Another successful series of performances. Every year they do outdoor performances on the Common, and Beauty and the Beast was a smash success. I want to congratulate the Not So Common players' summer camp. The kids did a great job with Shrek 2, which was moved to the senior center due to the heat. And I think that was the hottest day of the year. It got up into the mid-90s and it was humid, and would have been a real tough for the kids, obviously. So they moved to the senior center, but they didn't stop one beat. I mean, it wasn't the room that they had planned for. It certainly wasn't the setup backstage that they planned for, but they adapted and overcame and just did a fantastic job. So congratulations to to everybody involved with that program and the Not So Common Players.
And we very, very much appreciate people who give us space that we are using for many years. And so thank you very much to Windsor Development for all they've done for Not So Common Players. It's greatly appreciated.
Very good. So, so again, congratulations. Last night, we were pleased to welcome back Mariah Formica on the stage on the Common as part of our Sunday night concert series. She had gained some national fame a couple of years ago on national television. Before that, she played here in Clifton Park, and and hopefully she'll continue for many years. Very proud of her and what she's accomplished in a very short time, now only 18 years old. But she had a special guest with her last night, and that was Madison Vandenberg, who more recently gained national fame through a TV show. A young lady from Cohoes who did a great job on The Voice, right? No, American Idol. American Idol. Yeah, I don't know all those shows. American Idol, she did a fantastic job. Almost won, should have won. So she was there last night as well. So it was a great show, and we had a big crowd. So that was great to see. Any other communications and announcements at this time? Okay. Tomorrow night we'll have Coach Carr Marciello, who will be here on the Common as part of our National Night Out. It's an annual event. We have, well, Sparky will be there painting faces, so, I mean, what more do you need?
She's going to do balloons. She's going to do temporary tattoos.
Oh, temporary tattoos. All right, good.
Except the ones I do on you.
All right, well, let's not get into that right now, Sparky. But, let's stick to the face painting, okay? If that goes well, we'll talk about that. Yeah, so our three ladies will be, our three fun ladies here in the front row will be there tomorrow. Team 20 Robotics, Sheriff's Department, other first responders, fire departments, Highway Department will be there, so the kids love looking at all the equipment and talking to our first responders. Carm is the new coach at Siena. He's Clifton Park born and bred, and was a big star, basketball star at Shen. So he will be here with members of his staff. Matt Miner is another young man who's on his staff who was working in basketball circles collegiately in other parts of the country, but he returned with Carm. He was also a basketball standout here at Shen. So we're very proud to welcome them back, and we'll utilize our sign on the Common that we just erected. I think the information's already up there, welcoming back both gentlemen back home to take part in National Night Out, so we're very happy to have them. All right. Anything I missed there, Pat?
No, I'm pretty good.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did miss something. Okay, here we go. American Red Cross. We can always use blood, all right? So, all right, that's enough out of you. American Red Cross blood drive here in this room, Town Hall Plaza, Wood Room. Wednesday, August 14th, from noon to 6. To schedule an appointment, you can call the town clerk, Pat O'Donnell, 371-6681. So please do so. And so you can get an appointment. Right in and right out. Other than that, there might be a little bit of a line, but because it's open for 6 hours, usually the line isn't very long. So, if you can, they would love to have you, and our community and region can always use more blood. And it's only given on a volunteer basis. So. Right? All right, Sparky. While you're here, it must be Clown Week if you're here.
How did you know that?
Just a wild guess.
Amazing man we have here.
It's not my first rodeo at Clown Week, you know. All right, no jokes. So what do you have for us this year? We appreciate you participating
I thought
tomorrow.
everybody would like to have a brownie tonight. Would you like to have a brownie?
Oh, I love brownies, sure. Okay.
And
Oh, a brown E.
and there's a brown.
Aha.
And
Brown E.
no calories.
No.
No calories.
Not much taste either. Yeah. Brown
If you
E.
find any taste for calories on it, would you please let me know?
Thank you, Sparky.
Then this-
I always wanted a brownie.
Yeah, me too.
How about one for you too?
My dream has come true. Thank you. Is that it? Oh,
Party.
boy. Wonder what's going to happen now.
Hi,
Hi, Sparky.
how are ya?
I'm really good, Sparky.
I understand you've been framed. Look at this.
Have you got it good?
I've been framed. I've been framed.
I guess so. Sparky, in all seriousness, I know that's difficult for you, but in all seriousness, tell us a little bit about what the clown troupe does in our community.
You want the mic?
Yeah, do you want to use the mic? You can use the mic.
You think I need a mic?
I mean, you got all dressed up. I mean,
I know that.
all
Didn't do
dressed,
anything to my voice.
all dressed
Okay.
up. And somewhere to go.
Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Linda Seaman, Zippy, and she is currently the president of Electric City Clown Alley. And she's also been boss clown for our Caring Clowns group. And we are so popular now at Schuyler Ridge, they want us to come back every 2 months. And you know what? It's the same audience. And they remember what we do.
That's good.
So we've had to work on new tricks. And next to her is Debbie Harper. She's jazzy, and she has backed me up for virtually everything I've done. What does the alley do? Well, what do you say,
Well, then
Linda?
go to Schuyler Ridge.
What?
One of the things that we do, which I'll be doing tomorrow night,
Yeah.
is I blow up balloons.
Aha.
We do the face painting. We go into, as she said, into nursing homes,
Yeah.
not only into Schuyler Ridge, but there are, at this point, 8 different nursing homes that we will be completing
Wow.
around to throughout the year. Sparky and I are both part of the Clowns on Rounds. So we go into hospitals and do things in hospitals. Many of us do events for groups like Make-A-Wish or kids with cancer and other things of that nature. And in general, we just clown around.
With pink hair like that, you know she's just clowning around.
Yeah.
And because I know you've done an awful lot of talking in this fight, and you're going to be doing
Not
some
yet.
more. So I figured you could use some spring water.
Oh, spring water. All right. Nice.
Now,
Scared me there for a second.
how do I get these people to show up
Slinky.
for me every year?
I don't know. How do
I
you?
bribe them.
Oh, do you?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy. Wonder what happens there.
I take them to 16 handles. But I wanted to ask you, is the animal control officer here?
No, unfortunately, but our planner is here. He's close.
I have a whole lot of dogs that need dog license.
Oh, there you go. John, can you help her out?
Could you?
John's like, what?
Okay.
When she drives us, you know what kind of food we end up getting?
16 handles?
We end up getting diced apples.
And I have to tell you, my dogs are really very special because they're very well trained. Because when I say stay, they stay. And when I say roll over, lie down, they lie down. And I say roll over, and they roll over like that. Now, they don't bark. They don't bite. they don't shed.
Mm.
Don't tell anybody when you take them for a walk, you don't have to scoop the poop. So if you could make sure that my little puppy dog gets a dog license, because he's very well trained.
There you go, John.
Absolutely.
Very well trained.
Toughest assignment he's had all day.
Oh, you have a pig donkey between your feet.
What? Oh my God.
When the dogs get away,
Take that home with you.
I love it.
Well, I think you need one too.
I have a what?
Okay, so, yeah, Linda told you, we do clowns on rounds, we have the carrying clowns, we have the alley. We try to actually do some professional development. It is never taken with me. I'm well developed, I'm well seasoned, but I'm not professional.
Well, in all sincerity, in many ways you are, because you're going to places where people really look forward to you being there. Not here, but I mean other like Skylar Ridge. I got to give it back to you a little bit, right? So no, but in all seriousness, you're doing some great work. You go to places where, sometimes it's difficult for those folks to smile, and you're going there and you're making them smile, and
if they have difficulty with laughter,
but you really do. You bring a gift. You bring the gift of laughter straight to the place where people live. And as the town board of Clifton Park, we thank you so much for what you do in that regard. And with all of those groups that you mentioned, I don't know how you have time to do all that. It's amazing. But we know the difference that you make in our community, because we see the difference. And God bless you and thank you. And thank you for being there tomorrow night. You're always there supporting town events, and the kids love you. They get their face painted and they love it. Sure. And you were at the county senior day. Yeah.
3,000 seniors. Nobody under 60 could participate. You know how many seniors I painted that day?
How many?
A lot.
Yeah.
I thought you'd ask. But one thing I want to say, I have to sometimes explain to people that National Night Out up here isn't like it is in most places, where the police force and the community resource people get out in the cars and ride around and get to correspond and talk to and party with their neighbors. And we don't do that here. We don't have to do that here. So I saw the sign that says Hoops Night Out. I guess I have to stop calling it Shootout.
Well, it is centered around, when we started the event, 15, 16 years ago now, I guess, it was always meant to include basketball. We tried to include some activity with all of our events, and in this case, it made sense to include basketball and have the shooting contest for the kids and incorporate that into everything that we do. We have the Team 20 Robotics. They come and show off their latest work with their robotics equipment. And yeah, it's a nice night. It's a nice night.
And it's nice that we can do it as a community and
Yes.
not have to have the law enforcement and those other resources trying to make friends with the community when it's already...
We love them already, right? That's right.
Yep.
That's right. So they will be there, and they are most welcome there. And so are you. So thank you. And thanks for all you do in the community. God bless you. How about a round of applause for Sarge? Okay, so if you want to get your face painted, come down to the Common, and we'll get faces painted.
Did you have fun at 16?
Yeah.
Have fun at 16 handles.
Absolutely.
Well, of course we will. Anyone want to, you could trade in your brownie to go and have ice cream with me at 16 Hamilton.
All right, Pat, we got resolutions tonight, don't we? All right, so Pat's going to read through those, and then we'll consider each one individually.
A resolution of reappointing Walter B. Smead as sole assessor for the town of Clifton Park, whereas the town supervisor has recommended Walter Smead be reappointed as sole assessor, and whereas the town board appreciates his experience and expertise and his consistent accuracy in assessment formulation, and whereas Mr. Smead provides courteous and timely service to property owners within the town, now therefore be it resolved that the town board concurs in the supervisor's recommendation to reappoint Mr. Walter Smead as sole assessor, and be it further resolved that Walter D. Smead hereby reappointed as sole assessor, town of Clifton Park, for a term of 6 years effective October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2025. A resolution scheduling a public hearing regarding the proposal to revise and replace Chapter 156 of the Town Code regarding door-to-door solicitations and peddlers. Whereas Chapter 156 of the Town Code regulating the licensure of peddlers and solicitors wishing to engage in door-to-door sales within the town was written in 1970 and last amended in 2005. And whereas the town board wishes to solicit public comment on a proposal to update and revise Chapter 156 of the Town Code, and whereas the proposal replaces existing Chapter 156 by increasing fees, providing for a more detailed licensing requirement, by providing for denial and revocation of licenses for violations of the chapter, and by providing more specific operational requirements for licensees, whereas the copies of the proposal are available in the town clerk's office, as well as the edited versions of former Chapter 156 for comparison. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board will hold a public hearing to hear all persons interested in the proposal at Clifton Park Town Hall, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Clifton Park, New York, on October 19th, 2019 at 7:05 p.m. And be it further resolved and ordered that the town clerk give notice of public hearing to the official town newspaper, the notice of public hearing in substantially the form attached hereto, and by posting the notice of public hearing on the town's official signboard not less than 10 or more than 20 days before such hearing. A resolution scheduling a public hearing on a local law to establish a procedure for town board action on applications for additional residential density above allowable base levels within town center. Whereas by resolution number 63 of 2015, the town board adopted local law number 4 of 2015 establishing form-based zoning code within town center. And whereas pursuant to section 208-226A of the town code, the allowable base density for residential development within the town center zones was established at 10 dwelling units per acre, up to a maximum of 50 such dwelling units per project. And whereas pursuant to section 208-226B and 208-72-3E, the town board retained the authority to consider and grant additional density above allowable base levels within the town center zones. And whereas section 208-72-3E provides that the procedure for density bonus applications would follow those for planned development districts within the town. And whereas John Scavo, I will put your title in here, Planning Director John Scavo recommends replacing the planned development district procedure with a streamlined procedure to avoid conflicts with the purpose and effects of form-based zoning throughout the town center area and to maintain consistency within the town center zones. And whereas the town board wishes to schedule a public hearing on a proposal to establish a more efficient process by which the town board may consider applications for residential density bonuses for projects within the town center. And whereas the proposal retains the requirement that such applications are granted only by local law following public hearing, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby scheduled a public hearing for August 19, 2019 at 7:07 p.m. in the Wood Memorial Room on a proposal to amend section 208-226B and by adding 208-226G attached, and to repeal section 208-72-3E as attached. A resolution scheduling a public hearing on an application from Windsor Development for residential density bonus at the former Kmart property site. Whereas pursuant to section 208-226 of the town code, base residential density projects within town center is a maximum of 50 units per project, and whereas the town board has authority to increase the allowable density for residential housing within the town center zones under section 208-226B of the town code. And whereas on October 18, 2018, Windsor Development applied for a bonus allowance for an additional 50 residential units in allowed residential density for a planned redevelopment project on a 13-plus acre site of the former Kmart property at 15 Park Avenue within the Town Center 5 zone. And whereas the proposal would allow for a redevelopment project to include up to 100 residential units on the 13-acre site, and whereas the town board wishes to schedule a public hearing to hear comment on the proposal, now therefore be resolved that a public hearing is hereby scheduled for August 19, 2019 at 7:10 p.m. on a proposal for a 50-unit residential density bonus for the former Kmart location, and be further resolved that the town clerk is to publish and post notice thereof as attached. A resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign a memorandum of agreement with Miss Shannon Softball League for use of the softball fields and related buildings at the Clifton Common. Whereas the town wishes to extend its existing agreement with Miss Shannon Softball for the organization of youth softball within the town of Clifton Park and for the use of the softball fields and related facilities at the Clifton Common. And whereas the town wishes to recognize the volunteer commitment of the players, parents, coaches who comprise the Miss Shannon Softball Organization League's assistance in the maintenance and upkeep of softball facilities at the Clifton Common. Now therefore be resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to sign a new 5-year memorandum of agreement with the Miss Shannon Softball League for the organization of the youth softball program for the town and related use and maintenance of the softball fields and related facilities at Clifton Common for the 2019 through 2023 seasons. A resolution authorizing contingency agreement with Tri-Utility Cost Reduction for a utility audit. Whereas the Tri-Utility Cost Reductions New York City specializes in the forensic auditing of utility and telecom accounts and bills for errors and inconsistencies, and whereas the town board wishes to engage Tri-Utilities Cost Reductions to review the town's utility, telecom, and internet bills and accounts for and errors or inconsistency which may result in overbilling, and whereas Tri-Utilities' proposal is a contingency fee-based audit and review without cost to the town unless savings and refunds are identified, now therefore be resolved that the town board authorizes Tri-Utility Cost Reductions, Inc. to review the town's utility, telephone, and telecom accounts on a 50% contingency basis and authorizes the supervisor to sign the attached agreement. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an outside user agreement for the Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1 property located at 554 and 564 Waite Road, currently known as the Lands of Con Residential Subdivision, a 6-lot subdivision. Whereas the town board as commissioners of the Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1 has received a request to extend service to land owned by Muhammad and Wasim Khan at 554-564 Waite Road to be subdivided from that parcel, more particularly identified as SBL 270.-1-44. And whereas the real property is located outside the current service area of the Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1, and whereas the Clifton Park Water Authority has determined that sufficient capacity exists within, is that the right, the Water Authority would determine?
Where are you, Pat?
Resolution 7, number 7? I had a question on that one. It's the third whereas.
No, the sewer department.
Town of Clifton Park Sewer Department? Okay. Whereas the Town of Clifton Park Sewer Department has determined that sufficient capacity exists within the Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1 to provide service to the property, and whereas the Town Board recognizes the environmental planning and policy objectives met by approving water service over the alternative plans, now therefore be resolved that the Town Board as Commissioners of Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1 hereby approves an outside user connection to the district's facilities for property located at 554-564 Waite Road, Clifton Park, New York, and be further resolved that the outside user agreement shall be assigned to all the residences to be built at 554-564 Waite Road, SBL 270.-1-44, and connected to the Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1 facilities, and be further resolved that the Planning Department shall note the outside user agreements for each property on the final subdivision. A resolution approving an agreement with the Clifton Park Water Authority and V&R LLC as developers of the Rigby Miller Road subdivision. Whereas V&R LLC has received final approval from the Planning Board for a 79-lot subdivision on Miller Road with water and sewer infrastructure and mains to be constructed by the developer. And whereas approved plans provide for the construction of water main in the proximity to 4 existing homes without public water service on Miller Road. And whereas the Planning Board has worked with V&R consultants to develop cost estimates for the extension of water service off-site from the Rigby Miller subdivision to provide the opportunity to bring water service to the homeowners who are outside of but in close proximity to the subdivision. And whereas the Clifton Park Water Authority has committed to waive certain connection charges to the subdivision in exchange for partial reimbursement from the homeowners and the town. And whereas affected homeowners have executed separate agreements to repay a portion of the connection fees waived. And whereas the town has funds remaining from the Water Development Capital Reserve Fund pursuant established by Resolution 169 of 2002 and dedicated to the provision of water services to Western Clifton Park. And whereas the town board wishes to contribute to the project to extend public water service to the area of Miller Road, which is in proximity to, but off-site from the Riggy Miller Road subdivision, by reimbursing the Clifton Park Water Authority an additional portion of the connection fees waived to support the project. And whereas VNR LLC has agreed to extend the project to include the provision of water service to homes outside the Riggy Miller Road subdivision during the construction phase of the project in consideration of the waiver of certain connection fees as outlined in the attached agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the attached agreement with the VNR LLC and with the Clifton Park Water Authority in order to bring public water to an area of Miller Road in order to extend the benefits of the project, which will provide additional public service in water service in Western Clifton Park. And be it further resolved that the controller is authorized to transfer up to $11,000 to the Clifton Park Water Authority from the Water Development Capital Reserve Fund established by Resolution number 169 of 2002. A resolution authorizing Superintendent of Highways to promote Richard Panamine and Sean Dickinson in the positions of Working Supervisor in the Highway Department. Whereas after the retirement of Edward Perwicki and Nelson Bruno and the promotion of Stanley Rusinovich to the position of Assistant Highway Maintenance Supervisor, there are 3 vacancies for the position of Working Supervisor within the Highway Department. And whereas Superintendent of Highways Dan Bull has recommended the promotion of the following individuals: Richard Panamine is Class B, Rustic Ridge Road, Retford; Sean Dickinson, Class A, Middletown Road, Waterford. And whereas Mr. Panamine has proven he has the responsibility and experience to manage his fellow employees while bringing over 23 years of experience with the department in highway maintenance and snow removal. And whereas Mr. Panamine will fill the vacancy created by the retirement of Edward Perwicki and serve as the highway maintenance working supervisor, being responsible for day-to-day work leadership on road crews as well as assist in the completion of daily tasks. And whereas Mr. Dickinson has previous experience in the State Department of Transportation as well as 14 years experience with the department in highway maintenance, snow removal. And whereas Mr. Dickinson will fill the vacancy created by the retirement of Nelson Bruno and serve as the highway maintenance working supervisor. And whereas Mr. Panamine and Mr. Dickinson both bring a vast amount of emergency response experience from their time as volunteer firefighters, now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorize the probationary promotion of Richard Panamine and Sean Dickinson to the positions of working supervisor. Be it further resolved that in accordance with the current collective bargaining agreement with CSEA Article 21, Mr. Panamine will be promoted to a grade 7 step 5 at an hourly rate of $30.45 per hour, and Mr. Dickinson will be promoted to a grade 7 step 1 at an hourly rate of $27.58 an hour. And be it further resolved that the funds necessary for these promotions will be allocated from the employee line, and that line is listed. A resolution authorizing the hiring of additional seasonal employees for the 2019 summer recreation full-day summer camps and making adjustments to the pay rate of individuals as listed. Whereas the town board wishes to hire additional staff for the Department of Parks and Recreation to operate the town's 2019 summer recreation full-day camps. And whereas the town board wishes to make adjustments to the pay rate for current camp counselors as listed in Schedule A. And whereas Myla Kramer, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Affairs, has recommended that the individuals listed in Schedule A attached here 2 be hired and paid for positions as listed. Now therefore be resolved that the individuals listed in Schedule A attached here 2 shall be hired as staff for the town's summer recreation full and half day camps effective through August 17, 2019 per Schedule A. A resolution hiring staff for the end of the 2019 summer season. Whereas there are vacancies in staffing for the pools at the end of the season, and whereas the town board wishes to hire additional staff to assist in management, lifeguarding, and swim programs at the town pools, and whereas the supervisor has recommended that the following individuals be hired as indicated in the attached Schedule A. Now therefore be it resolved that the individuals listed in Schedule A shall be hired as indicated through the end of the pool season to be paid at rates as stated. That's it.
Very good. Any questions on the resolutions? Okay, Pat, if you would read the headings and consider each resolution individually.
Resolution number 185 of 2019, a resolution reappointing Walter D. Smead as sole assessor for the town of Clifton Park.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Walter, tell, in New York system, the assessor is appointed by the town board, but he basically acts separate and distinct, and that's why he has a longer term. And that is intended to, I guess, lessen, it's a reason why judges have longer terms. It's to lessen the possible political pressure that could come from policymakers within a municipality. So you have a 6-year term, which is much longer than mine, by the way. And I have no political pressure placed on me. But tell us how long you've been here, and just a little bit about your qualifications, because it is such a long time between appointments for you, and I think it's important for folks here that know who we're appointing.
Yep. Well, I've been assessor here.
Is the mic on?
Yeah, I've been assessor here since 1999, so I've been here 20 years, which is quite a while. But I've also been an assessor since 1987, which is about 32 years. I've worked in real property for 42 years from all different levels. I started with Saratoga County. I worked for the state of New York. And now I work for the town of Clifton Park. So just about every aspect of real property that there is, I've worked and dealt with. I've handled the buying and selling of land for the state, easements for the state. I basically drew tax maps. I created Saratoga County's tax mapping department, worked there. Been doing valuation and assessments now for well over 30 years. There isn't too much about real property that I haven't dealt with. I've worked with pretty much everybody in the state as far as real property goes, from real property agencies to tax and finance, which runs just about everything now as far as real property. So that's gives me quite a few years and quite a bit of experience in dealing with every new law that comes out and all the old laws, and basically the 6-year term helps keep consistency in the values and uniformity in the values, because if you changed assessors every year, every 2 years, it would be almost chaos. The paperwork would not be complete. The values probably would be all over the place. There would just be no uniformity. So I think that is another reason why they do 6-year terms.
Right.
And like you said, can't be political.
Right.
So it's just basically a job. We're controlled by the state laws. The legislature dictates and writes new laws every year which govern what we do. So I work for the town, but I'm controlled by the state.
Right.
Which sometimes is not fun and not easy, because they change stuff every year.
That's for sure. And, the longtime chairman of our Board of Assessment, Bill Sekelic, he's going to be stepping down, right? 40 years?
Yep. Bill Sekelic's he's retired.
So, so we'll need to
We'll have to get a new chairman.
appoint a new chairman, and I want to make sure that we properly thank Bill here at a town board meeting in the near future for all of those years of service.
Yeah, that's a long time too.
Yeah.
He's going to be missed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, does anybody have any questions for Walter? Okay. Because you won't be able to talk to him for 6 years. Oh, I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
Don't write that down, Glenn. All right, Pat.
Water frequently.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallet?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 186 of 2019, a resolution scheduling a public hearing regarding a proposal to revise and replace Chapter 156 of the Town Code regarding door-to-door solicitation and peddlers.
So moved. Second?
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mrs. Standard. As the resolution describes, we have not altered this long-standing part of our code in a number of years, about 14 years, so I think it's a good time to take a look. We did have, it's rare that we have issues with peddlers, and the number, we don't get, I would say, a large number of people seeking peddler permits each year. I think it's, but some companies still think it's a good way to market, and they do want to use the option. I think it's a good time for us to have a discussion. I know we have one issue with a peddler this year, which is rare, but we did get a few complaints about how they were dealing with people at the door, and Pat pulled the permit. So I don't know how often you've done that over the years. Very rarely.
Very seldom,
Yeah.
if ever. Maybe once before.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So anyway, I think it's a good time for us to have that discussion, and any ideas that you might have, but it's always good to look at these items in the code periodically. Okay.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Sandar?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 187 of 2019, a resolution scheduling a public hearing on a local law to establish a procedure for the town board action on applications and for additional residential density above allowable base levels within the town center.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Mrs. Standard. John?
Yes, what this resolution does is it adopts a procedure that streamlines the process in keeping with the goals and objectives of form-based code relative to the process by which the town board evaluates and considers approval of density incentive bonuses. Specifically, it calls out the need for a concept development plan to be submitted by an applicant that includes a narrative description, identifies any public amenities being proposed with the project, also calls out an existing survey of the site conditions and proposed construction sequencing with improvements, and also calls out the 500-foot notification requirement that would be completed prior to a potential referral to the planning board for a recommendation, and then when the recommendation is made by the planning board, the town board has the ability to schedule a formal public hearing at that time. So the public within 500 feet of any proposed project gets ample notification well in advance before any decisions are made to have an opportunity to review the applicant's request and provide comments that they feel are relevant for the board's consideration.
Okay. And these are process alterations. There's nothing that changes the town board's jurisdiction or decision-making ability here, right?
Correct. The authority is still staying the same with the original form-based code. It's just clearly defining what that process and mechanism for the steps for an applicant to take and the information required by this board before a decision will be made.
Very good. Anything you want to add, Tom?
No, it's still, if the proposal would retain the mechanism for the town board to grant the density bonus by local law after a public hearing. So the same jurisdictional requirements as you do for planned development districts elsewhere would still apply in town center.
Very good. God bless you. All right, very good. So this will set the public hearing. If there's any questions now or between now and the hearing, John and Tom can certainly answer this one. Okay. All right, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 188 of 2019, a resolution scheduling a public hearing on an application from Windsor Development for residential density bonus at the former Kmart property site.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Windsor Development is here tonight, and I had asked them if they could just give an overview of what the proposal is, because it is much different from a previous proposal. So I thought it would be important to give everybody an idea of what is being considered. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Danimal with Environmental Design here on behalf of Windsor Companies and their application, excuse me, for what's been called the Kmart redevelopment project. Been in front of this board several times in various different forms over the past few years. Currently, we have an identical proposal to what was presented to this board, I'd say probably about 6-7 months ago now. Late December, it had gone through the planning board, and now we're back in front of the town board to finalize, have a public hearing, and hopefully move into the planning process. Brief overview of the project. We're looking at Shoppers World. Parcel itself that hosts Kmart is about 13.3 acres. This is, again, just one parcel of the overall Shoppers World Plaza.
Right.
Currently, on the site is the 87,000 square foot Kmart Plaza that is vacant, with roughly 600 parking spaces in the parking lot. Plans to move forward, demolish the Kmart building, reestablish 2 new buildings on the site. Each building would be a 50-unit apartment building, mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms. There would be also 22 covered parking spaces associated with each building, and outdoor parking, having roughly 1.9 to 2 parking spaces available for every unit within the facility. Connections to Cliff Park Water and Saratoga County Sewer District sewer. Main benefits of this project is a significant reduction in potential traffic and trips generated from the project. It's also a significant increase in green space, which in turn is a significant reduction in the amount of impervious area on this property and within the town center itself. This also promotes the principles of a walkable community by bringing in one of the important principles, the pedestrians, into this town center that we're looking to evolve and bring into the visions that is the form-based code. Thank you.
How long has the Kmart been vacant? Was it 6 years?
It was about 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, so it's been vacant for some time. What's in general terms, what's the retail environment that you're seeing? I mean, your company owns the Price Chopper Plaza, the Hannaford Plaza at Exit 9, so you're very much, as well as other projects, so you're very in tune with the retail environment. What are you seeing now overall?
Well, clearly, there's a changing trend in retail, and that's been happening, and it's continuing to happen where we're seeing less and less demand. 86,000 square foot tenants aren't out there. They don't exist like they used to. Everybody is, the big boxes, everybody's right sizing. We have this 86,000 square foot box. We have the Toys R Us across the street. We've seen the effects of consolidation, bankruptcies, and then trying to refill these boxes in this environment is difficult.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. As a society, we've made a decision that we're going to shop online for a great many of the products that we purchase on a regular basis, and that's just the reality. As a society, we've made that decision. So that has certainly created the changing landscape of the retail environment, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. And that's why this town board had the vision to look forward to years into the future and develop a town center plan that would offer an opportunity for additional types of development. We also have worked to attract new investment in segments of the economy that were not a large part of our business mix here in Clifton Park, such as hospitality and healthcare. And we've been successful with that as well. But you're right, I mean, thinking back to our first big win in our goal of revitalizing Exit 9 was Boscov's. And that was a grassroots effort. We were able to get Mr. Boscov's attention. Was able to get him here in Clifton Park with a meeting, and one meeting led to a second one, and they made the decision to locate in Clifton Park. And that was our first victory of filling the many feet of empty retail space and empty buildings at Exit 9. And then Target and Kohl's came in to fill empty areas, and that Builder Square and Grand Union had left behind. But to recreate that effort now in this retail environment, I think would be extremely difficult, if not almost impossible. Are there some retailers out there that are expanding? Yeah, very few. But they're typically expanding into, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more the expert than I am, but they're typically expanding to areas with a much higher population density than Clifton Park. I mean, we just don't have that population density, not close to it, that they're looking for. And you'll see the areas that these national retailers are locating with standalone stores in many cases, or maybe a store that is part of a plaza. The other part of that is, in the past, they might build a 150,000 square foot store, a 200,000 square foot store. Now, might be what, 60, 80,000 square feet? Maybe smaller, maybe 40. So, what is expanding in a lot of cases is much smaller. And I think you'll see some of the stores that we have now, might, hopefully they all stay, but some might get smaller. I mean, that's just the reality that we're living in, and it's a challenge for this community and a challenge for many others. But we have a plan, and we're executing that plan and making sure that Exit 9 continues to be successful in the future, because it's very, very important to the future of this town and county, for that matter. So talk to us about the less traffic generation that you referred to. Now, when you say that, you're comparing, I'm guessing that you're comparing another retailer of Kmart size, or maybe similar size, and this proposal that you're presenting tonight. Is that true?
Yeah, so that is the case. We've retained VHB as traffic consultants throughout the Capital District. They did a study on the original proposal, and they did a revised study updated in September of 2018 on the current proposal. And what they did is compare the traffic generated by an 87,000 square foot retail user based upon the ITE manuals and trip generation data, and came up with just a, kind of a figure that caught my eye is about 600 trips for the Saturday peak hour. The proposal we're currently looking at for the 50 apartments has about 49 trips in that same given hour. So we're looking at 90+%.
I'm sorry, that was 49 versus
600.
600.
Which again is more than 90% decrease in the potential traffic within that Exit 9 area.
Mm-hmm. Would that also be true if and I don't know if this is something they ever considered, but taking that space and cutting it up so there's multiple retailers in there, which is no easy task to find multiple retailers. But would that be the same, roughly? I mean, in your estimation, would the traffic impact be about the same as one big retailer?
Yeah, plus or minus 10 to 15%, depending on exactly the retailers or restaurants that have went into that space.
All right, you also mentioned more green space. Now, it's 13-acre parcel with a lot of parking area,
Correct.
impervious surface, right?
So what we're looking at,
So what are you adding as far as
Currently-
green space?
hard to see on this one, this entire area that we're looking at within the development is completely paved or covered by building.
Mm-hmm.
By virtue of what we're proposing, we're creating new islands of green space here within the parking lots, around the building, and along the side. We're looking at close to 3/4 of an acre to an acre more of green space than currently exists on that site today.
Oh, okay. 3/4 of an acre to an acre. Would it, I was also thinking of this as you were presenting it. Is it safe to say if you're taking an older building, building something that's different but new, that it would also improve, not that there's any known issues there, as far as stormwater, but would it improve stormwater capacity and ability?
Absolutely. Part of the state regulations would require you to treat a certain amount of the new impervious area. In this case, we have less, so we now have to treat what we call the redevelopment area. We have to do a lower percentage of water quality treatment versus the big quantity basins, so that by virtue of us doing this project, water quality exiting the site is better than it currently is today.
Right, okay. Yeah, I was just thinking of that, and there's another possible change. So basically, you're going to have 2 buildings with 50 units each. Now, what's in the center? I see a common area there. Is that enclosed or no?
So the buildings we're looking at are the brown with the yellow or tan area, balconies or outdoor patios. The area in between the building is somewhat of a central entry plaza, if you will, drop-off area, large expansive area in front of those buildings for uses by the residents, uses by the community and the public that would be walking through here. There could be some sculptures in that area, benches, plantings, trees, things of that nature.
So that common area between the 2 buildings would not be enclosed, right?
This is not enclosed.
Right, okay. Very good. All right. Well, we'll talk more about it in a couple weeks, but I just wanted to get some of those items clarified. Any other questions right now? I know I just covered a lot of stuff. Mr. Whalen.
Looking at the narrative, it talks about a pocket park open to the public. Where would that be in the description? Or the map,
that
sorry.
is what we're referring to as this entry plaza,
Okay.
where there would be sculptures, sitting areas, people walking within the retail portion of this mixed-use community, walking over towards the residential area. There'd be places for them to relax and hang out in that area.
That's what you're considering the pocket park.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's no business, it's all units, right?
Particularly in this project, yes,
Residential.
it's all residential.
Yeah, it's all, yeah. I think that's, John, did you have any questions at this time?
No, the only other thing I'd like to mention is a few years ago, Windsor Development undertook a stormwater improvement project where the basin was cleaned out behind Shoppers World Plaza. That was done accounting for the existing impervious surface at Kmart. So I feel confident that the stormwater improvements made to that area will be able to accommodate the runoff reduction volumes as a result of the new project.
Yeah, that's also helped the situation downstream as well.
Correct. It's discharges to the Bear Brook,
Right.
which in working with Trout Unlimited, there was a concern about thermal impacts to the naturally spawning brook trout. And as part of the improvement project, the water quality and water quantity volumes were both improved within the basin.
You know, it's interesting. We undertake these initiatives to improve the habitat for the trout within the stream. And then DEC won't let us do much in the way of drainage work downstream, where we want to clean out pipes and clean out drainage areas so the water flows better because of the trout. It's just one of those things. I just, sometimes I just sit in my office and think of these anomalies that Isn't that kind of ironic? Or is it just me? Strikes me ironic. How about you, Sparky?
Totally in agreement with you.
Thank you. That's a safe answer.
Yes, it is.
Very good. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. I think this gives us a good idea, and everybody a good idea what we'll be discussing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I do want to mention, one thing I failed to mention at the beginning of the meeting is, well, Pat, why don't we
With the
vote
vote.
on that first? And,
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, along Clifton Country Road, if you're driving down Clifton Country Road, you'll see some work that has begun. That is the median enhancements. So we're excited to see that project get underway. They'll first scrape everything, and if you drive down there, you'll see everything's scraped. Then we build it back in with topsoil and the plantings. So we're doing that in the grassy median areas. We have, as we explained recently when we approved that portion of the project, we are putting off the refurbishment of the concrete islands closer to the intersection between Clifton Country Road and 146 because DOT has begun a process of planning a redevelopment of that intersection. 146 and Clifton Country Road. And they don't know what that design will look like yet. And if they do, they're not saying. So at this point, we have no idea what their plan is, but they are assembling a plan, and they said when they have something to show to us and the community, they will do that. So we're very interested to see what that change would be at that intersection. Obviously a very busy intersection, and we welcome improvements to that area. But what we didn't want to do is build an edifice or something permanent on those concrete islands and then have DOT say, oh, by the way, we're taking a wider swath in the right-of-way and you're going to have to take down your improvements. So we're going to just hold off for now and wait. Sound smart, Joe?
Sounds like a great idea.
All right. Well, we try once in a while. Okay, Pat?
Resolution number 189 of 2019, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a memorandum of agreement with Miss Jen Softball League for use of the softball fields and related buildings at the Clifton Common.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowit. Discussion? Question? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 190 of 2019. A resolution authorizing contingency agreement with Tri-Utility cost reductions for utility audits.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Standard?
Thank you. Yeah, this is essentially a service where these folks will go in and do a forensic audit of our utility bills, looking for any small billing mistakes or any rate discrepancies to find money that we wouldn't otherwise know was owed to us. So, yeah, I think we've had some audits before on some utilities in the past, but this will delve into the last 8 years of even more utility bills, and hopefully they can find a little bit of money in there.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. And this is something that, again, we should do periodically and have done. We were able to get another $25,000 from National Grid recently. And as our streetlight project plods along, we'll get there one of these days. But that's what happens when it's a new program and you're one of the first. Usually takes a while. But anyway, hopefully we'll find some savings here, and appreciate you bringing that forward. Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 191 of 2019, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an outside user agreement for the Corporate Commerce Sewer District Number 1, for property located at 554, 564 Waite Road, currently known as the Lands of Khan Residential Subdivision, a 6-lot subdivision.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mr. Whalen. And John, was this situation where septics would have been used?
Correct. The planning board did approve a subdivision plat with septics, but because of environmental constraints in the area, i.e. DEC and Army Corps wetlands, it's actually a water quality improvement project that by connecting to public sewer, it's beneficial for the homeowners and the vitality of the wetlands going forward.
Okay. Any questions for John?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standar?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 192 of 2019, a resolution approving an agreement with the Clifton Park Water Authority and VNR LLC as developers of the Riggy Millers Road subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standart. One thing with this is, the developer, is required to pay for the extension of the infrastructure as is customary to serve the proposed project. Now, this will enable an additional length along Miller Road, right? Which makes sense for completing the loop of the system. As similar work is taking place, obviously it'll be less expensive if construction crews are already mobilized and in the field. This will be a direct benefit to homeowners along Miller Road, but they also are responsible for their share of the cost, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So as this additional length is constructed, and I know you're not the head of the water authority, but we can pretend for a minute. What benefit does this give to the system itself in that area?
Sure. Basically, looking at the project, this was one of the last large projects with a large tract of unimproved zoned residential land within the Vischer Ferry GEIS study area. As part of the finding statement for the Vischer Ferry GEIS, it calls for the extensions of public water and sewer utilities. The applicant, as part of the subdivision application, did show that they were running a loop system from Clifton Park Center Road and Miller Road through their subdivision and then out through a new street that connects to a northern node of their project that ties into Brookhaven, an existing subdivision, and also comes up to the intersection of 146 and Miller Road. There was a gap along Miller Road with about 6 homes. If we did a map plan and report for those 6 homes, based on the density and the wetlands constraints and the developability of those existing residents, the ability to close a gap closure project to extend the water line for that distance, it would have been cost prohibitive. So the builder's going to be out there with crews constructing a water line. There were some fees towards the GEIS that would have been due. Instead of getting fees and trying to do it as a future capital improvement project, we're waiving fees, and we're also using money that was specifically allocated towards water development within that part of Clifton Park from a 2002 project that was left over. So it's a win-all for everybody. It's probably the first project that's a residential subdivision where I had residents adjacent to the project saying nobody's happy to see development next to you when you've had fields, but if it means we can get public water, we'll welcome the new neighbors with handshakes and open arms. So that spoke volumes.
Well, maybe handshakes.
Yes. That spoke volumes to the need and desire for public water from those residents.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, well said. Okay, any questions about this right now? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 193, 2019, a resolution authorizing the superintendent of highways to promote Richard Cameron and Sean Dickinson to the position of working supervisor in the highway department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Dan?
So I bring to you today the promotions of Richard Countermine and Sean Dickinson. Richard could not be here today because 6 months ago he planned a vacation with his wife and couldn't think ahead and coincide with
So why couldn't he be here?
So,
That's an excuse?
But we had quite a few interviews for positions, and at this point I'm going to be promoting these two individuals. The two of them really stood out in that they are people I can trust to get a job done. I don't have to keep an eye on them all the time. I know that they're going to do the job that they're supposed to do and do it the right way, and do it the right way the first time. Right, Sean? And they've both proven to me that they have a thorough, extensive knowledge of every aspect of the department, that there's no such thing as a niche for these guys. They dabble in everything. They're a jack of all trades and a master of most. So I'm very happy to present these two individuals, and hopefully tonight you'll support my decision in promoting Sean and Richard.
Well, we've lost some long-term personnel to retirements, and we certainly congratulate them on their long careers here at the town of Clifton Park. But it has created opportunity for other folks that also have a significant amount of time working for the town of Clifton Park. They have proven abilities, and they have proven to be dedicated over the years to serving the residents of Clifton Park. And so personally, I wholeheartedly support the elevation of Mr. Countermine, even though he didn't show up, and Sean Dickinson. Make sure you tell him I said that.
I will.
Who did show up? Yeah, maybe we'll just vote on Sean. But congratulations to both of you, and keep up the good work. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dan? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 194 of 2019, a resolution authorizing the hiring of additional seasonal employees for the 2019 summer recreation full-day summer camps and making adjustments to the pay rate of individuals as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. We have several folks here to hire to fill out the remaining final weeks. Unfortunately, summer is coming to a quick close, but thank them for helping us out here at the end of the summer. Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 195 of 2019, a resolution hiring additional staff for the end of the year 2019 summer season.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Same here. These are new employees for the pool, end-of-season pool hires. We typically do hire new lifeguards as we lose some guards to going back to college. They go back a little early, so we hire some new folks to get some experience at the end of this year, so they're ready for next year. Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, and I want to remind everybody that half-price pool membership started August 1st. So the weather's been fantastic and likely will continue. So you'll get your money's worth from now to the end of the year, which is Labor Day weekend. All right, any other business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town subject, we ask that you state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Anybody that would like to speak tonight? You already spoke. Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You didn't have to stay the whole time. I mean, you're going to be putting in 2 or 3 hours tomorrow, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I'll see you tomorrow.
They really want
So
a
go-
picture with you guys. And she
Yeah,
gave me
but
the phone
did you want to speak?
picture. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
You guys want
They
to-
want her to take a picture.
Oh.
Well, we
I have my
can,
phone.
we'll see him
I have
tomorrow.
your phone. You want to
Oh, how did she get your phone?
She gave it to me to take pictures.
Well, we'll see him tomorrow. We'll be able to get a picture.
I promise, see? It's on record.
It's
They
on
gave you
record.
the word.
Yeah.
We're gonna get their
Yeah, we'll
pictures.
get pictures tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And you feel sorry for me. I got a hard act to follow here after you guys. Speaking.
We'll work on it next time.
To get you a few pictures.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, come on up.
See ya. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks again. I'll see you tomorrow.
You bet.
Is that your bag under the chair?
You have a pink bag under the chair.
Check out the security on your way out, thingy.
Oh, we got the shot clock on. Okay, Ann Connolly, 12 Independence Lane, Clifton Park, New York. I'm administrator of 2 sites on Facebook. One is Clifton Park Neighbors, and one is the Easy Clifton Park Neighborhood Watch. And we have just roughly under 2,000 members. What I've been noticing on the sites is, say, I'll use a hypothetical example. A frustrated resident sees posts that this swing has been broken, and they would like to get the swing fixed. So they put it on the site, oh, I'm so tired, the swing is broken. It occurred to me that most residents don't know Park District advisory committees exist. What I'm hoping and I'm asking of the town, and again, the town of Clifton Park, you all do a great job. The advisory committees do a great job. They're very dedicated volunteers who spend a lot of time trying to make neighborhoods better and give residents what they would like to see. What I have seen is if there's a broken swing, the local park district advisory committee might very well be working with the town to get it replaced. And if I had access to minutes or to an agenda, I would be able to say, oh, this is presently getting taken care of. Or you might even run into the situation where it would help the advisory committee, well, we don't want swings, we want teeter-totters instead. In other words, it's very difficult for residents, most of them don't even know this advisory committee exists. It's very difficult to have communication between the committee and the resident. And what I'd like to do is, if possible, I'd be even willing on Clifton Park Neighbors to post, say from the chairman, minutes or agendas, so the residents could know what they're working on for them. You know, that they spend a lot of time working with the town, trying to make it better, trying to make our neighborhoods great. And it's unfair to the committee because they have no idea that the residents have no idea the committee's working. And the residents get frustrated because they think their issues are going unheard. Now, in 1995, I believe it was that Park District Advisory Committees were put in effect in the town of Clifton Park. And it's a fantastic idea, and I realize a lot of the park districts are small. They don't have minutes, they don't have agendas, they don't have meetings. I'm referring to like the larger park districts. And maybe if I could, you know, you can assist me working with the chairs or whatever, or come up with your own solution, how to let the residents know that I think it's wonderful in our developments. We have a park district. We have our neighbors who are on this committee that are making our neighborhood what we want it to be. And they're putting a lot of time and effort in, and it's a secret. It's the best kept secret in Clifton Park. And I would really, I think it would be advantageous to, you know, get that word out that there is an agenda, there is minutes, there's people working together with the town to get us what we're asking for. So, you know, if you could assist me in any way, I would definitely appreciate it.
Okay.
Because it's a great system you have in place. It
Well,
really
yeah,
is.
I mean, we like to do what we can to have more volunteer participation within the neighborhoods or within the town itself. So anything we can do to encourage volunteer participation is important. And with the park districts, yeah, we have folks that are volunteers.
Right.
They cannot allocate funds. They cannot bind the town to any decision. They cannot set any policy for the town. But what they can do is offer recommendations and ideas. But they can't spend money and they can't make policy. They are just volunteers. They're not appointed by the town. We don't appoint park district personnel. So, but yeah, so certainly, I mean,
You know, anything you
we
could
want
do
as
would
much
help.
volunteer participation
Well,
as possible. I'm not prepared to get involved in the inner workings of any of the park districts because I don't think that's our place to do that. Because they're advisory groups. They're not appointed by the town. They're, you know.
Okay,
So-
but
And believe me, we certainly get plenty of suggestions and ideas and identification of issues from people that every day that have nothing, like you said, maybe they don't even know there is a volunteer committee that meets on occasion to talk about the neighborhood or neighborhoods, as it were, depending on the size of the park district. So. So I'm not prepared to get involved in the inner workings of the park district volunteer groups.
No.
Because I don't think that I don't think a top-down centralized government getting involved in what they're doing is good for volunteerism. That usually squashes volunteerism because people tend to say, well, why am I bothering? What am I doing here? They're making, we want there to be organic ideas coming from anybody in the neighborhood, but certainly volunteer groups that decide to meet periodically to talk about different issues. We want those ideas to be organic and come forward. But whether you're part of a volunteer group or just a resident that has a concern about any of the topics you mentioned, we're here and we receive those ideas or concerns every day.
so you would prefer then it's referred to the town? I mean,
I
sometimes...
would just prefer we know about it. I mean, I don't know where it might
Right.
come from. But I just prefer we know about it because if there is an issue in the parks or in a neighborhood, obviously, we have a long record of taking care of those
Oh,
problems.
you do an excellent job. The town
So-
of Clifton Park does an excellent job.
But I always say to people, you live there, so you drive those roads every day. You walk those parks every day. You're the eyes and ears of the neighborhood. So, I don't drive through every neighborhood every day.
No.
Neither does anybody in the town board or anybody that works for the town. Although lately we've been in a few. Mainly focused on tree brush and tree limbs. The people that live in the neighborhoods, obviously, they're the eyes and ears. They're the ones that see these issues. And so we depend on them to tell us if there is an issue occurring or something that we need to keep.
So are you saying you either have the residents relay it to the town? I'm trying to follow where you're going.
I'm just saying we'd like to know wherever
Okay.
it comes from.
Okay,
I'm not directing anybody to do anything. I'm just asking.
okay.
It's a simple request. If you see a pothole, especially in the spring, if you see a pothole somewhere, don't a problem in the park or something, don't assume that the town knows about it. Because I think people, say, well, they probably know about it.
Right.
Which is normal.
Well, I take pride
so-
in the site to have accurate and helpful information. And I don't want to get in a situation where people make unfavorable comments about the town when in all fairness,
Wow.
you're working on it. That's not fair.
Wow.
So
People make-
I'm trying to keep it
So
where...
some people make bad, make negative comments about about the town all the time. It's their hobby. So I mean, you know, we can't worry about that. If we know of an issue, we'll take care of it. Simple as that. The politics and the garbage that goes on, well, hey, if that's how people want to spend their time, God bless them. But I don't even, it doesn't register. It doesn't we're just focused on the job. So if somebody emails me or one of the town board members or a department head and says, you know, there's an issue here, there, somewhere in the neighborhood, we'll take care of it as quickly as possible. Some problems take a little longer than others,
Right.
but depending on what it is. But most problems are fairly easy to take care of, and in that we don't have to spend a tremendous amount of time. It's usually something that can be fixed fairly easily, but you know, the key is to respond in a timely manner.
Okay.
But if people just assume we know and just say, you know, a couple weeks go by and oh, that thing in the park is still a problem, or that pothole is still
Isn't the advisory committee supposed to
is
do
still
it?
in the road, and that nothing's been done. Well, there's a good chance we don't know about it.
Right.
So, you know, that's all it
Well,
is.
I just want to, like I said, I just want to publish helpful and accurate information. And I really frown whenever I see derogatory comments made about anybody.
Yeah,
And I
well,
like to stay away from that
yeah.
because it's not necessary.
Right.
So that's why I was looking maybe for any kind of bridge to the larger park districts with their agenda or their minutes.
That's right.
You have your minutes and agendas available, so
Right.
does the planning and the zoning board.
Yeah, but we make policy decisions.
Oh, so that's true.
We allocate money. They don't. They can't make policy for the town. They can't allocate funding
They can make
for
suggestions.
the town. They can make suggestions
Okay.
just like anybody else can. Yeah. So,
Okay.
But
I'm
we
following you.
appreciate their involvement very much across the town. We're very fortunate to have many volunteers. We feel very fortunate because, again, you know, the more information, the better.
The We Do is awesome.
What's that?
The We Do is awesome.
Oh yeah, it's the
Absolutely.
results so far. The feedback's been great.
My shot clock is over. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
You guys
Very
do a
good.
wonderful job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Sue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need some better transparency.
Yeah. Right. Sure. Anyone else? Sean?
Yes, sir.
Anything you want to say tonight, or?
Thank you very much.
Oh, I didn't mean that. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standorf? Yes. Councilman Romano? Councilman Walowitz? Yes.
Yes. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow night at National Night Out.